I am Amy Weiner, and thanks for joining me today. I, we've got lots of really cool things to share. We just had a launch and launched a lot of really cool features. So as I let these people in, I'll go ahead and get started. We're recording, so everybody will receive a recording today with some helpful tips and tricks. So no need to scramble around taking notes. So let's get to know each other a little bit better. I'm Amy Weiner. I am a software sales advisor for Better Impact. I've been here almost 9 years now. That's hard to believe. But when you're having fun, and I certainly do, I enjoy what I do. That's why I've been here for so long. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I enjoy most about what I do is the relationships that I've built along the way. I talk to people in organizations like yours every single day. I enjoy what I do because I get to build these relationships with organizations and helping them find really what I think is the best solution for managing their volunteers. Got organizations here from all over the place, representing very different types of organizations. But one of the things that we find out is that we have a lot of things in common, a lot more than we would know. So, what I like to do in my free time, I've got a couple of dogs, Daisy May and Apollo, and I like to garden indoors and out year round, and love to experiment in the kitchen. You may wonder where my accent comes from because I am from Ohio, but I was an oil refinery brat and I bounced around all over the Gulf Coast. And so with that, that accent stuck around. So some of the takeaways from today. Um, we're going to discuss common problems that are facing organizations just like yours. So we're going to discuss common problems faced by many organizations. Uh, one of the things that I hear frequently is too much data entry. And, who really enjoys doing that? Who enjoys tedious, mundane tasks that suck the life out of your day? And that's exactly what happens. And it leads to a lot of frustration. Um, and having the right tool to do your job is definitely you know gives you that ability to stop with that and focus on what's important, focus on managing your volunteers. um, we'll do a quick program assessment so I can ask you some questions, and if you'll respond in the chat we can see just exactly how much we have in common. We will do a quick demonstration so that we can share some of the features. And I may have mentioned at the beginning, we had a launch last night. So that launch really introduced some wonderful new features that I'm excited to share with you today. When we talk about data security, how can you tell if your data is secure? Well, one easy way to tell is to look for ISO certification. ISO 27001 is the world's best known standard for information security management systems. ISO certification means that VMS vendors respect all of the best practices and principles enshrined in this international standard. And having the certification, the actual certificate, rather than simply following guidelines that they have set, is a really important distinction. Because what that means is the vendor has been audited by an independent body once a year to make sure that the standards are being met. Question number one. And if you'll respond in the chat, that would be great. And we'll see just exactly how many of us have the same challenges in front of us. Okay. So question number one, what problem resonated with you the most from that last slide? Was it too much data entry? Was it two, using too many disconnected tools to do your job? Three, not enough time to lead and engage with your volunteers. Perhaps it's four, finding affordable tools that leadership will approve. Or is it five, concerns about insufficient security of confidential volunteer data? Right, so I see a lot of twos and threes, a lot of disconnected tools, and not enough time. I hear you. Okay, we'll go on to question number two. So, how are you managing your volunteers currently? Spreadsheets? Who loves Excel? You're currently using a VMS or three, something else altogether. Maybe it's a combination of all of that. And you're kind of juggling a bunch of different tools to do your jobs. Okay, so I'm seeing spreadsheets. I'm seeing spreadsheets and a VMS. Wow. Okay, lots of things in common here. Okay, so last question. In your opinion, what's most at risk if a change doesn't happen sooner rather than later? Is it number one, volunteer turnover and disengagement? Maybe it's two, staff turnover, disengagement. Three, wasted money. Four, damage to your organization or program's reputation. Five, something else altogether. Okay, lots of disengagement. Okay, well, let's see what we can find out to solve some of those issues. Did you know that more than half of employees are unhappy at work because of the software tools they're using? Have you ever become dissatisfied at work due to missing or mismatched software? This statistic comes from G2's 2019 State of Software Happiness report. Being provided the right tools to perform your job plays a big part in our level of job satisfaction. When you have the right tools are not in place, our level of efficiency and effectiveness decrease. This is one factor that can contribute to overall unhappiness in our role. About 1 in every 8 employees has quit a job because of mismatched software. The fact that this is a cited reason for people leaving a job speaks to just how important it is to outfit employees with the right tools to do their job. Turnover is disruptive to progress and to goal attainment. So let's get you and your team working with tools that make you feel less like this and frustrated and overwhelmed, and more of this, feeling empowered and productive when you do your job. So let's take a look at the path that a volunteer might take. Perhaps they're going to your website and they're clicking on a link that says that they want to volunteer. Or maybe they've gone on social media and seen a link that was of interest and clicked that and landed on a public page so that they can find out maybe just a little bit more about what they could do to help, what kind of time commitment they might be looking at, what kind of skill sets they have to have, how much training. So, as a prospective volunteer, I might go ahead and fill out an application, but probably I'm going to want to find out just a little bit more about your organization and what I can do to help. So, you've got your banner, your branding. This looks and feels just like your website. You can have a welcome message here with pictures, with video, links to social media. And then these current volunteer opportunities are simply general interests that you can create in our software. They behave as mini want ads, advertising those positions that you'd like to fill. Now, as a prospective volunteer, I can't sign up for anything from your public page. This is just my opportunity to find out a little bit more about your organization. But once I go through the process of filling out your online application, I'm going to land here in your database for you to manage. So, no more of that paper application form or emailed application form that you then have to enter into your database or into Excel. Because once they fill out that online application, they're going to land here as an applicant for you to manage. Find out who my new applicants are. I'll just click the link. And you can see here it'll say application form. So for a standard account, you can have up to 3 different application forms with links to all of those on your website. So this would just tell me if I was using more than one application form, what kind of volunteer this is. So let's take a look at Henry. And we can see Henry's information, all of his contact fields, his custom fields. And I'm going to scroll down just a little bit so you can see one of the new features that we added last night. So now you can actually have your volunteers e-sign documents for you right from the software. So creating new efficiencies for your organization. So we have Henry's custom fields. We have qualifications, and I'll show you in a moment. Qualifications in our software are your non-negotiables. Those are your required skill sets, trainings, etc., that volunteers have to have in order to be able to see and sign up for opportunities. And some of these qualifications can even have expirations, as you see here. Henry's general interests, availability. We can communicate with Henry from here. Send him a personal message, and that personal message is going to land on his impact homepage. So if he's logging into a time clock or if he's looking on his smartphone at the app and signing up for an opportunity, the first thing he's going to see is that personal message you have. Software is going to retain an email history of all of the emails that you send out, as well as all of the text messages. And every volunteer has a private note log that is admin view only. Volunteers can't see this, but from an admin standpoint, it's very useful information. It's all date and time stamped. From Henry's profile, I can assign him. Now we can see here that it looks like it's all onboarding related. Why? Because he's an applicant. He's not ready or vetted for those other opportunities that accepted volunteers are able to see. Check out his schedule. He doesn't have one currently. Hours, run reports on him, add him to committees. And then when we look back at the home page, I'm going to take a quick tour of this. Pin searches. So communication is very, very important. And pin searches create efficiencies because you can search, run reports on anything that's entered into the database. So, for example, if I wanted to reach out to everyone that has shown an interest in guest services, I could do that. It's going to BCC everyone. And if I happen to have a template, we love templates because they create efficiencies. And then I can send an email to this group of people with the template. And the software will then retain that email history of what I've just sent. The great thing about pin searches is that as new people meet your search criteria, then they're automatically added to your pin search. And as they no longer meet that criteria, they fall off of the list. So the list is always relevant. So if you needed to send out um, a quick text message to everyone on the schedule, you could create that search with a dynamic date range so that it's always the correct date. So if you're closed, for example, you can get out that communication quickly and efficiently to everyone concerned. We can also see who our in process volunteers are. Those people that are going through those onboarding steps. Your accepted volunteers, and active people are just taking a break. Maybe they're on medical leave, vacation, something to that effect, and then archived volunteers. You've got your series of alerts letting you know of any custom fields that you may have requiring your approval, and those qualifications that I mentioned, along with a volunteer status that will either include or exclude someone from being able to see and sign up for an opportunity. You can set that time limit so that you get that heads up as to when qualifications are going to expire. And then if they get to that point of expiration, then you're able to, of course, reach out to those volunteers to have them do whatever updating is necessary. Information about your account, uh, feedback. We value feedback, and this is your forum for that. And we also like to communicate with you and let you know what our current upgrades to the software are. And through video, show you exactly how you can use those for your organization. You can customize your homepage just by creating a list of favorites of the things that you do most frequently in the software. Let's see what a volunteer's experience would be like. Okay, so Veronica's uh, profile was created when she filled out your online application. And you could have even had her sent an automatic email telling her what her next steps are. And you may have had her log in through her browser. You may have given her instructions on how to download that free app. But from here, this is all about her upcoming shifts, uh, badges that she's earned. Everybody loves a gold star. I don't care how old you are. Um, It's a great way to recognize your volunteers and show appreciation. Links to social media, because everybody lives on social media. We all know that. A Flickr feed, that personal message that I mentioned, and then files, documents that you want your volunteers to have access to. Any communications that you'd like to update your volunteers with. And then opportunities. She can look at these in a list or a calendar format. When she selects one, she can find out what we call a pre assigned description, a little bit more about that opportunity before she raises her hand. If she wanted to sign up, for example, for all Fridays, she can filter those and she could just, with one fell swoop, sign up for all Fridays. When she signs up for an opportunity, it lands on her schedule for her to manage. And you'll notice here that volunteers that she has an opportunity in this instance to remove herself from her confirmed assignments. That's something that you can determine as an administrator whether you want to give them that access to that or not. But you also can set a window so that when that window closes, then perhaps they have to reach out to the person managing them. They can manage that calendar, that schedule, with weekly email reminders as well as a calendar feed that's going to sync with their iCalendar, Google, or Outlook. They can log hours. They can log hours in multiple ways. Um, they can do this right from their browser, from their homepage. And what you're seeing here are feedback questions. Feedback questions are survey type questions that your volunteers can answer for you. It's all customizable. And the flags indicate that these are required responses. So Veronica would have to answer these questions before she could complete and submit her hours. They can also log hours through a kiosk if you're operating through a kiosk. Um, they can log hours through the app on their smartphones. And then, should you want to create badges for them, they can use that QR code to scan in and out. Volunteers are able to run reports on themselves. So often you have college students perhaps helping you out. And in those instances, of course, they want to know how many hours they have because there's certain requirements that they have to meet. They can set goals for themselves and see how close they are to achieving those goals. And then, with whatever date range they want to enter here, they can also run reports on the hours that they've contributed. They can also export that. Through their contact tab, they're able to reach out to anyone who's chosen to be a contact person for your organization. They can also reach out to a committee if you've assigned them to a committee. And one of the great use cases for this is perhaps you're giving them an option to remove themselves from a confirmed assignment, but you've assigned them to a committee based on all of those people within the committee having the same skill set, the same set of qualifications, and their same status so that they're all qualified for that certain opportunity. So maybe Veronica's got to cancel, but she first reaches out to her committee. It'll email them collectively to see if someone could pick up her shift. That way, you as an administrator get a notification that Veronica has canceled, but another notice following saying that someone has picked up that shift. So you're not scrambling here at the last minute to fill vacancies. And then from her profile tab, she's able to sign those e waivers or sign documents. Pretty cool because this is one of the I just saw this morning, so it's new for me too, but we've been waiting for it. She can update qualifications. She can see the things that, for example, if she's passed her background check and she wants to see when that expires, she has access to that information as well. I'm going to go back to the admin's portal and take a look at reports because oftentimes that's what it boils down to is having accurate reporting, being able to report on how many volunteer hours. A good rule of thumb is if it's been entered into your database through hours volunteers have logged, through feedback responses, it's reportable, it's searchable, and you can also save these things. So if I just want to find out hours by volunteer, I would enter in whatever date range I want. And then I can see exactly who my most valuable volunteer was for that time period, how many hours they've logged, how many entries it's taken them to get there. And at the bottom, getting a total number of hours, number of volunteers, and the average number of hours per volunteer. Maybe I want to see what the trend looks like for the year. Then I can look at month by month, how many volunteers, how many hours they volunteered in the average. And with any of these reports, if I want to export that, I just let the software know what format I want to export that into. If I want to pull a report that's maybe just a little bit more customizable, I can do that as well through a personal profile raw data report. I tell the software who I want to pull the report on. So in this instance, if I just selected my accepted volunteers, I get the total number of accepted people, but then I pick and choose what I want to include in my report. Maybe database user ID, volunteer date joined. Perhaps I want their email address. Maybe I want to know if they speak any other language. And keep in mind, again, that all of the custom fields, all of the qualifications, the questions you're asking to get the information that you need to know on your volunteers is all customizable. These are just examples to show you what you could ask. Maybe I want to know the date volunteered, most recent hours entry. Perhaps I want to include those hours logged. So when I view that, I get exactly that information that I requested, nothing else. And if I really want to get creative, I can even have the software help me create pie charts, bar graphs to illustrate that report that I just pulled. And if I want to save it so I don't have to reinvent the wheel, I can do that. And of course, as with other reports, I can also export this to share. And before we go to back to just a couple of other items and then leaving time for questions and answered, we're going to go to the Assign tab just because it's one of my favorites. I'm a visual person. And so it's nice to be able to look at a calendar and tell where those vacancies are to fill. So, for example, if I thought I'd look at Friday, everything with the blue check mark means I'm in good shape. If I want to find out who's on the schedule that day, I can find that out too. And if I want to fill a spot because I don't want any red on my calendar, then I'm able to do that as well. I've already set the criteria when I created the opportunity to illustrate what exactly I needed for a volunteer to be able to do, what qualifications they had to possess, and what status they had to have. So 23 people match my filters, but I need, you know, two. So I probably am not going to go through the process of assigning all of them. But what I probably would do is maybe I want to send them all a text message and let them know on this date at this time, I've got a spot to fill. Once it's full, it'll show up as full to all of the other volunteers. So I don't have to worry about having too many people. And I'm going to get a notification telling me that spot's been filled. So it makes pretty easy work of that. Okay, so I've shared a little bit about the common problems encountered by organizations just like yours, managing volunteers. So here's a little bit of information about Better Impact's history. This is our story. Better Impact started by a fluke. Our CEO, Tony's passion project of building a web based volunteer management software solution for a residential hospice he founded, birthed the beginnings of our global We're Here to Help company. And we really, want to be known as a We're Here to Help company. You talk to every one of our clients. One of the things that you would hear that is a fan favorite is our support. Support is available 20, 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. We're located on 3 continents. We're a small company, but we're a global one. And we really do want to help and get those questions answered so that you can go on about your day and do what's important. We're a 20-plus-year-old company, and we have offices in the UK, Canada, USA, and Australia. We have customers around the globe. We specialize in volunteer management software, volunteer impact, which is what we're discussing today. But we also are providers of donor, client, and member solutions that integrate with volunteer impact.